remove the center cap, use a 22mm socket. Loosen up these lug caps. And take that off. Remove the wheel, take off the lug nuts, use the same 22mm socket. And remove the wheel. Now we're going to take the caliper off, take these two caliper bolts out, use a 19mm socket. Loosen those up. Now gently I'll take a straight blade screwdriver and just get in between the rotor and just pry the caliper out a little bit. This is just going to compress the piston a little. And you can slide the caliper off. Take a brake caliper hanger and hang the brake caliper somewhere that you can find so there's no tension on the hose. Take the brake pads off. You can just use a small screwdriver if you need to. Now take the caliper bracket off, use an 18mm socket and take these two bolts out. And slide the bracket right off. Take this screw out, use a T30 socket. Now you can slide the rotor off. If the rotor's stuck on, you can hit in these areas with a hammer. Just be careful of the studs. And it should be able to loosen up and slide it off. Take a wire brush and just clean up any rust buildup on the hub. You could also use a die grinder if it's really bad. Just don't take off too much material. And right in between as well. Take a thin coat of anti-seize and just put it on the hub surface. Now take the rotor, put it on backwards first. Take some brake parts cleaner and clean off the rotor. Just wipe it down with a rag. Flip it around, and you have to line the hole up with the threaded hole right there, and clean this side as well. Now take that screw and get that started and just snug it down, not too tight. Good. Now we're going to clean up the caliper bracket. Take a straight blade screwdriver and just take these pad slides off. Use a wire brush. Just clean up any of the rust buildup right here. Take some brake caliper grease and just put a nice thin coat. Take the pad clip, slide that in position, and take another thin coat of caliper grease. And then do the same on the other side. Now you can just take these caliper slide pins out. You can spray these down with brake parts cleaner and wipe them off. And if they're extremely corroded, you want to clean out the hole, you can spray the cleaner down in there and then use a wire brush in there. If they're not too bad, now just take some brake caliper grease. Grease them up, reinstall them, make sure the boot seals, and do the same on the other side. Now slide the bracket over the rotor, take the bolts. You can use some thread lock adhesive on the bolts. Get those started. Now we're going to torque these bolts to 133 foot-pounds. Take the new brake pads. This one that's on the flat side, that goes on the inboard side, and there's a squealer or a warning indicator that's going to go towards the bottom. So that one goes on the inside. And then the other one that has the curved bottom that goes on the outside. Take the caliper hanger off, and we need to compress the caliper. You can take a brake caliper compressing tool and compress the caliper nice and slow, not too fast. As you do this, you're going to push the piston into the caliper. It's going to push the fluid through the brake hose, through the brake lines, back up into the brake master cylinder. And remove the tool. Now just slide it over the brake pads. And take the caliper bolts, get those started. Now torque these bolts to 74 foot-pounds. Put the wheel on and the lug nuts, and torque the lug nuts to 140 foot-pounds. I'm going to do it in a cross pattern to tighten the wheel down evenly. And just go around again, double check. Now I'll put the cap on and tighten these down by hand, just snug. Now slowly pump the brake pedal. There's going to be a little bit of an air gap between the caliper piston and the brake pads. That's good. And check the fluid level and adjust accordingly.